Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to PhotoBiz Live. This is Andy from the PhotoBiz team, and I will be presenting today's webinar, SEO, Where to Get Started. You've started your business, set up your website, and it's time to work on SEO. But where do we even begin? So what we're going to do today is we're going to try and demystify some SEO and get you started on the right track. In addition to the opportunity to listen to me talk about SEO today, we will also have a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. There's a chat tool, and just feel free to type in your questions. We will get to them at the end, as I say. You can also join in the discussion on Twitter by using the hashtag PhotoBizLive. If at any point during the webinar you have any difficulty hearing the speaker or seeing the slides, please use the comment box to let us know. We will be recording this webinar, and it will be available for replay on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/PhotoBiz. You can also see all of our previous webinars there. Since I'm running the webinar today, I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Okay, today we're going to look at the 3 places that make up your SEO and how to get started in these areas. The 3 areas we refer to are the back end of your website. This is the area that the bots, which are the search engine's automated software, this is what they see. The front end of your website, that's what you see when you go to your URL. That's what you and your visitors interact with. And then we're going to touch briefly on Facebook and Google+. Even if you're not thrilled about having to join social networking, you really do need to at least set up the pages. One of the very first things you will need to do when you're setting up your SEO for your website is to create a Google account. Now, in the past, you were able to do this with any email address, but Google has changed their policies so that you have to have an email account that is run off of their servers. Now, the easiest way to do this is with a Gmail account. The website is mail.google.com. It's free, it's easy, it takes roughly 2 minutes to create the account. The other option is what's known as a Google Apps account. Google Apps is a paid email service that uses your domain name as the end. So instead of something@gmail.com, you have something@yourdomainname.com. Now, there is a price tag associated with that. I believe at this moment it's $50 per user per year. Runs on the same servers as Gmail. It's a very reliable email account, and it's branded with your website. So those are your 2 options. You'll need to have one or the other to use a lot of the Google tools that we're going to talk about today. The 3 main areas that your Google account is going to control are known as the Google Suite. This is Google Analytics, Google Webmaster Tools, and Google's AdWords. Even if you're not interested in paying for an ad, AdWords provides things like the keyword tool and the keyword planner that can help you when in your SEO goals for free. But you do have to have an account with them. You can also tie this to your Google Plus account, which we'll be touching on later. It's not required, but it does make it easier. So as I said, we're going to start by looking at the back end. The back end of your website's like the engine of a car. You don't see it that often, but it makes everything work. The pieces of your back end include the code, how the website is coded, how it's written, how it's displayed, the site map, which is roughly an index or a chapter list, to use a book reference, for your website, and your metadata. Now, generally, only programmers, SEOs, and the bots, we're about the only people that are really concerned with your backend. This is not something that your average internet user will ever see. Most people don't even know it exists. But in terms of SEO, it is important. So let's look at each of the 3 areas. Okay, first, actually, one thing I wanted to point out is we talk about bots, and a bot is a piece of software that creates what is referred to as the web index. Now, the web index is simply every website that Google lists. If you're not in the index, you will not be found in a search. Now, you may hear other terms for these. They're called bots, they're called spiders, they're called crawlers. I found a reference of ants, which I've never heard that, but it is in use in some places. Now, one of the best ways to think about this is they're bugs. We call them, we use bug names for them, and you need to feed your bugs. Bugs feed on metadata. Obviously, real bugs don't, but in this instance, so the metadata that we create is what gives these bots their information, their food. Okay, how do we feed the bots? You've got 3 types of metadata. You have your keywords, which is probably the most well-known type of metadata. You have your title, which is as the name says, the title of the website or the individual page. And then you have the description, which again is exactly what it sounds like. It describes what is on the page. Now, I realize I've skipped over something here. I was just talking about the code and the sitemap of your website. PhotoBiz actually takes care of both of these for you. The coding that we use, since you are using our templates, follows Google's Webmaster Standards. Basically, Google has a list of things that you should do and that you should not do, and that is what we use when we write the code for our websites. Now, the sitemap is something that we also automatically generate for you. If you use a portfolio site, your sitemap is sitemap.cfm, and if you use a content site, it varies. It will be either site/sitemap.cfm or blog/blog_rss.cfm. Now, you can find these in your control panel in the knowledge base, or if you're having trouble remembering that, just give our support team a call. They'll be happy to get you set up there. Okay, let's get back to it. All right, we're going to use a house metaphor here. The meta keywords on your website are the foundation of your website house. So we're pouring the concrete, we're getting our foundation built. So the best way to do this when you're starting from scratch is to simply make a list. And we want descriptive words for who you are, what you offer, and where you are. When you make this list, I strongly recommend at some point, either from the start or typing it in later, using a text editor for this. We're going to be taking your list, we're going to be taking it apart and putting it back together, and copy and paste is really, really useful for this. In fact, I use it myself very often when I'm generating keyword lists. Once you've generated your list, and your list can be short, it can be long, it really depends on how much you offer, what you need to get out there. But once you've gotten your list, we're going to put them together. Now, I've created an example here. The who in this case is going to be Andy's Widget Company. What my company makes are industrial widgets. And like PhotoBiz, my company is in Greensboro, North Carolina. Now, each one of those terms is a keyword in and of itself. But I don't want to use just those as my keyword because I'm competing with everyone who makes industrial widgets or every business in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to compete against the field. I want to compete against people who offer similar services. So you can see some of my examples down here. AWC Industrial Widgets. That is the company name and descriptive. So if someone is looking for my company, they already know who I am. They're going to find me. Then we look at some more general terms. North Carolina Industrial Widgets. With this keyword, I'm announcing that I am in North Carolina and that people who are looking for local suppliers of industrial widgets, I am a good person for this. In that same vein, we've also got Greensboro Industrial Widgets. And then I wanted to follow up here with two more that didn't show up in my 3 examples: custom industrial widgets and wholesale industrial widgets. Now, these are going to be terms that people would search for depending on their needs. Now, obviously, I have to be able to supply these needs to use these keywords, but that's what our goal is to create 2 to 5 word phrases that combine who we are, what we do, and where we're located. Now, obviously, this is focused for local companies, where if you have a nationally recognized company, you use a different tactic and different patterns. But this serves for most companies that work in a limited area. All right, next we move on to your meta title. Now, in the past, your keywords mattered for how well your website ranked. But unfortunately, they're very, very easy to abuse. And so at this point, Google no longer counts them for your ranking. Your title, on the other hand, has shown to directly affect how well you rank. So you want to make sure that your titles are good and that they hit the keywords that you want to focus on. Now, where we get those keywords is the list we've just generated. Now, on this slide, I've presented two examples of what are the most common formula for writing your website title. Now, you'll notice I'm using a vertical slash here, and the reason for this is that the amount of text that displays is determined by the pixel width of each character. So instead of using an in dash or an m dash, I've used a vertical line because it's smaller. Now, the two most common options are brand, keyword, keyword, or keyword, keyword, brand. And I've created an example below that is brand, keyword, keyword. I start with my company name, AWC Incorporated. I put a vertical slash, and I put my keyword phrase here, industrial and custom widgets. And then I close it because I'm interested in local results with my location, Greensboro, North Carolina. Now, the reason we want to put our keywords in our title is Google gives credit for what they call an exact keyword match. If what the searcher types in is in your title, those words will be highlighted to draw attention to them, and your website will rank higher. Given that you have a limited pixel space, it's very important to know which keywords you want to be found for. It's okay to have a large list in your meta keywords, but in your title, you're only going to have room for, say, 2 or 3, and you need to make sure that those are going to count, that they are the most appropriate keywords for your business. Okay, the final section of your metas is what is called your meta description. Now, the best way I've found to describe your meta description is it is your 2 to 3 second marketing blurb. Now, your meta description has not shown any correlation with how well you rank. If the keywords in your description match the keywords that they searched, they will still be highlighted, but as far as anyone in the SEO industry can tell, it doesn't help you rank higher. What we have found is that a good description influences your CTR. Now, this is a term that you'll often hear, and it means click-through rate. And that's a percentage, the number of times your link was viewed compared to the number of times someone actually clicked on that page. Now, since each page of your website will have a different description, and every website has a different description, I can only really give you general advice here. There are 3 things that you need to keep in mind when you're writing your descriptions. You want to talk about what is actually on the page, what the person will see if they click this link. You want to make sure that the language is casual but not informal, and please check the grammar and the spelling. The average searcher spends between 2 and 5 seconds viewing the search results before moving on to the next or deciding to click. One of the best ways to ensure that they skip you is to have misspellings, bad grammar, and bad capitalization. It's a very subconscious thing, but when people see poorly formatted descriptions, they expect a poorly formatted website. So here at the bottom, I've written an example, again using our custom widget company. AWC specializes in custom and wholesale industrial widgets. We can't wait to build a widget for you. Now, the first sentence tells exactly what my company does. The second sentence has no bearing to what the company does, but it invites the user in. It has an overall positive message, and it's an active tone. We want to work with you. So things to avoid are cold and technical language. People will be turned off if your language is overly technical, because you are generally a specialist in what you do, and they are not. They are coming to you because you are the specialist. And while you may feel that you are ensuring that people know that you know what you're talking about, it's very easy to come across as condescending, because this is the true cold sell. You don't interact with these people. You don't know them. They don't know you. So it's okay to be funny. It's okay to be positive. But you're reaching out to an audience that you don't know. Okay, we've looked at what makes, how to create your SEO. Now, with PhotoBiz, every content page of your website has an SEO section. Depending on which of our products you have, this may be titled Search Engine Optimization, or it may be a button that says SEO. Each page will have these, and all of our main website products have these options. You need to fill out every page. I know it takes a lot of time, but it will benefit you much more to have SEO on every page of your website than to only have SEO in your main section and hope that Google understands what your website is about. Some things to keep in mind when we talk about the page-specific SEOs. Your title, your description, and your keywords should reflect what is on that page only. So if I have a page for wholesale widgets and I have a page for custom widgets, I don't want them to cross. I don't want to refer to custom widgets in my title, description, or keywords for my wholesale page, and I don't want to talk about wholesale in the custom area, because that sends mixed signals to Google, and our goal here is to create the most effective way for Google to see our website. Avoid copying and pasting large amounts of content. One of the biggest mistakes I see is people will have the same description on many pages of their website, or the keywords will all be the same. When the bots come and view this, what they see are multiple pages with what appear to be the same content. Now, this may not have been your intent, but this is a tactic that has been used in the past to make websites look like they provide more than they actually do by putting the same content in multiple areas. Now, you run the risk of being penalized, but it's a small risk. More likely, what you're going to experience is just poor ranking. Now, just like the meta title that we were talking about before had a format, I have a format for my page titles. I use the page name. Now, this can be descriptive or it can be the navigation name, but you want to make sure that it explains what is on this page. We use the vertical line that we looked at before, and then we take that entire main title that we created and we paste it in here. Now, I know that sounds like it's doing the thing I just said not to do, which is copying and pasting large amounts of content, but with meta titles, what we're doing by leading with the page name, we're telling Google that this is what is on this page, followed by this is the overall title of the website. When the bots crawl these, what they do is they recognize that you've repeated your title, and they take only your page name to display. And this is a good thing. This is what leads to individual pages being indexed. This is what leads to your site being given site links. That's the term. If you've ever searched for a company, I know this happens if you Google PhotoBiz, you'll see their homepage is the main link, and then you'll have somewhere between 4 and 6 other options for popular pages on that website. Now, the key point here with your page-specific SEO is that this is your best chance to give Google an inside look at what makes your website your website. Google can't see images, especially for photographers. Your galleries, Google understands that there are images there, but the bots can't tell what are on those images. So by giving that gallery a title and a description and keywords that reflect the images in that gallery, you have given the bots a way to know what is on your page rather than having to report there are images, but we don't know what they are. So that really covers what I would expect of a PhotoBiz client on the back end. Like I said, the code, the sitemap, those are things that we take care of for you. So now let's look at your front end. Now, when we discuss the front end of your website, your SEO and your marketing are going to merge here. So this is one of the reasons that SEOs have started referring to themselves as inbound marketers, because a lot of what we do has now had to shift from the back end to the front end because Google has made a shift in their style of presenting results. They want to ensure that the most appropriate content for the searcher is presented to that searcher. So there are three main factors we look at on the front end. The first is the content of your website. The second is the organization of your website. And the third is the navigation of your website. Now, you may have heard navigation referred to as ease of use or usability. They're all referring to the same thing. Now, your on-page factors, your front end, it directly affects how well your website ranks, and it can also affect how well your website converts visitors. Now, when we talk about converting a visitor, all we're saying is that someone comes to the website and performs an action. That can be calling you because of your phone number on the contact page. It can be filling out the contact form. If you have an e-commerce store, it can be placing an order, or it can even be something like approving preview prints. A conversion is simply a visitor doing something that you want them to do. All right, one of the most common phrases in SEO is content is king. As I said, Google is all about providing content. And the most important thing on your website is its content. Now, the primary method of content generation is text. Text is something that a bot can understand. The Google crawlers are roughly human level in being able to determine tone, intent, and content. Now, they're obviously not people, which is why Google has a web spam team, but they're much, much better than most people give them credit for. So, in your website, you have information pages. Every product, every website product we offer comes with at least 3 information pages. On these information pages, you should be looking at 2 to 3 paragraphs minimum. Now, you want to make sure that these paragraphs are well written and grammatically correct. Again, we look for casual but not informal. We don't want to scare people off by being too cold, but we also don't want to talk to them like they're our best friend and we've known them for years, because that's a level of familiarity that most people are not comfortable with someone that they don't know. Now, I'm going to have to ask you to go back to that keyword list we created. Now, your meta keywords can also show up on the front end of your website. And when they make an appearance on the front end, we call them content keywords. Now, you want to include your content keywords, but you want to include them naturally. So if I'm writing about making custom widgets, I would say that AWC specializes in custom widgets made for any purpose. That our widgets are known for their high quality, their high tolerance to heat and humidity, and that they come with a lifetime guarantee. Now, a lot of these terms don't directly relate to anything that I do. High tolerance to heat and humidity, lifetime warranties. Those aren't directly related to widgets, but those are terms that someone looking to buy my widget has probably searched before. And those are words that are related to making widgets. And Google actually takes these things into account. So if you're a wedding photographer, using phrases like bridesmaids, gowns, groomsmen, ring, love, these are all terms that, one, are associated with weddings and that someone searching for a wedding photographer has likely searched for as well. And Google does track search history. All right, again, please always check your spelling and your grammar. Microsoft Word will do this for you. There are, if you don't have the Microsoft Office suite, you can use LibreOffice. It's L-I-B-R-E Office, or OpenOffice. Those are both free word processing programs that have built-in spelling and grammar checks. And again, that is because these are cold sells. You don't know these people, so you always want to put your best foot forward. Now, again, my fourth point I find rather humorous because this is a webinar and I've presented lists on almost every slide. But when we talk about your content, try to avoid making lists. Lists are great for presenting a variety of options, but they have very little context and they can cause reading fatigue. Now, I'm fairly certain I made that up, but everyone has experienced the loss of attention that comes with a long list. When it's entry after entry after entry, eventually you stop processing what each one says and just notice that there's a long list. So if you find yourself making out a list, take a look at it and say, can I put this in text rather than being a list? It's going to require a little bit more effort, but it is also going to help you include those content keywords, and those are going to have a direct effect on your ranking. The title of this slide is the Department of Redundancy Department, and I don't know how popular that is, how many people have heard that, but it's been a phrase that I've always used to refer to things that are duplicated without need. When you're building your website, every page on your site should be the best page for whatever it is doing. So if you have a page about custom widgets, that should be the best page on your website to learn about custom widgets. If you offer family portraits and senior portraits, you should have a page on your website that is the best page to learn about family portraits. And ideally, you should have a page on your website that is the best page to learn about senior portraits. Now, you want to keep like with like, especially if you offer either a variety of services or a variety of products. Generally, your visitors and customers are going to be interested in one section of your business. Now, they may want to take a brief look at what else you offer, but generally they have come to your website looking for one thing, and they want to be able to find that thing and anything related to it easily. Again, this won't apply to your galleries, but you want to make sure that each page is unique. The text on the page should always be unique. Again, this falls under the same category as not duplicating your metadata. If the text on the website is repeated in multiple areas, when Google sees that, they have to assume that you're trying to game the system by making your website look bigger than it actually is. If you only offer a limited service, a limited type of service, that's okay. Google would much rather you provide great insight and information on the 2 services you offer than trying to make it look like you offer a dozen services by being repetitious. The usage side of this is duplication can be very frustrating to a visitor. And if you frustrate your visitor, they don't convert. It's very easy to hit the back button and go right back to that Google search that brought them to your website and check the next website down. So ease of use, making sure that the text is unique and that it says something will help. All right, now following directly on that is organizing your menu for easy navigation. Now, you, as a PhotoBiz customer, have full control over the titles of your web pages, what's grouped under each drop-down menu, and how they're displayed and what order. So you want to make sure that when someone visits your website, they can find what they need quickly and easily. So what things we look for: descriptive page names. Don't be vague. Let people know what's there. Organize things into the drop-down menus. Now, depending on how you're set up, you may want to group all of your information under an information drop-down menu. You may want to combine galleries for that specific type of service along with information for that service. In the end, it's up to you how you organize it, but a visitor who has never come to your website before should be able to quickly and easily find what they're looking for. When you can't find what you're looking for, you get frustrated. When you're frustrated, you don't pick up the phone. You don't fill out the contact form. Now, this will have less of an effect on your SEO than having bad text, like we looked at on the last slide, or having duplicate text, because the nature of a PhotoBiz site is that it avoids many of the common usability and navigation issues that come with custom-built or unique websites. The other thing to avoid is convoluted internal linking. And what this means is, if I click on a link that says for more information, click here, I should be able to both easily get back to the page that I have just come from and go to a different page on the website. Now, again, this is not very common in PhotoBiz websites, but it is something to keep in mind. If you ever find yourself saying, well, how did I get here? That's an indication that the site is not easy to navigate. So we've talked about the back end of your website. We've talked about the front end of your website. Now we're going to look at things that are not your website. At this point, social networking is not optional for a successful online business. There are two social media profiles and a third kinda social media profile that you need to set up. You need to have a Facebook business page. This is separate from your personal page. A personal profile is where you have friends, where you play your games, where you join your groups. Business pages don't have friends. Business pages earn likes. Now, the reason you want to always have a Facebook business page is that many people, especially in local searches, will search on Facebook. So you want to make sure that you have a dog in that race, and you want to make sure that people can find you. You know, a lot of times if somebody's looking for a niche market, they want to do some research on this person they're thinking of hiring. And if they can't find you on Facebook, it can serve as a negative because it doesn't look like you take things seriously. The next one is a Google Plus local business page. Now, Google Plus is Google's social network. It is showing growth still, but it is still nowhere near the use that Facebook has. To encourage more people to join Google Plus, Google has rolled their old Google Places program into Google Plus Local. Now, if you've never heard of Places, that's okay. You've probably seen them. And this is when you search for a term and a map shows up with the small pins, usually labeled A to F, to show you where the businesses are in your area. So the way Google now controls this is through your Google Plus local business page. Like Facebook, it is separate but controlled by your personal profile. For Facebook, it's facebook.com/pages. For Google Plus, on the left-hand side of your profile, there will be a home icon. When you mouse over this, below it, there will be an option for pages. And once there, you will select that you would like to create a local business page. Now, Bing offers a similar service. It's called Bing Places. Now, unlike Google, you do not have to have a Microsoft account. You can set this up with any email address, including the Gmail address you may have created at the start. It serves the same function as Google Local. It gets you a spot on the map that is presented with search results. Now, if you do enjoy social media, if you have the time, there are many other social networks that can provide marketing tips. They can generate business. They can just help get your name out there. I've put 6 up here: Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, Flickr. You can create accounts on all of these. You can share things. You can join people. You can connect with them. But the use of these social media networks on your SEO is going to directly relate to how much time you have and are willing to devote to them. Couple of stats here. Facebook is the largest social network. By having a business page on Facebook, you provide a searcher with some instant information about your business. You give them a basic of who you are, what you offer, and what your operating hours are. Now, they can also see your happy clients and the things you've done, as you may have done yourself. When you receive good or bad service, you can post on that company's Facebook page. Now, your Facebook profile is also a great way to generate engagement with your audience. Now, this can be sharing things you've created. These can be replies to things you've posted. But it's a multifaceted use. Google has announced that they do count your Facebook engagement when they're ranking your website. You can use Facebook to find out what parts of your business are working well for your customers and what they would like to see improved. You can also use Facebook to generate more business by having your current customers share things that you have done on their personal pages, which increases your reach exponentially. Instead of being seen by just the people who like your page, you're now being seen by all of those people, plus everyone who sees the sharer's page. All right, when we look at Google, as I said before, Google Local is Google Places. If you're lucky enough to have already created a Places account, you still need to import this to Google Local. Now, you will have an easier time than people just from the start because Google has a lot of information about your business already. But it's really not that hard to create a Google Plus profile. I think setup takes about 2 to 3 minutes. Probably you're going to spend about an hour overall creating this profile. Like I've mentioned a couple of times now, it really matters on local map results. Google is moving to what they call contextual searching, in that it takes both the IP address you're searching from, which tells Google where you are in the world, but it also takes the device you're using, and in some cases, how fast you're moving when it's deciding what results to display. The Google algorithm can actually determine, if you're searching from your phone, whether you are seated, walking, or on some form of transit. And that will actually determine how wide of an area Google presents to you. Now, as a website owner, there's not a lot you can do about that other than making sure that your spot on that map is confirmed. One thing you want to be careful of, make sure you complete your profile. Google lets you announce your hours. It lets you announce what credit cards, if you accept credit cards, what types of payment you offer. It has a section for languages you speak. In certain areas, having bilingual or trilingual employees is a real benefit. So why not announce this? Because Google is giving you this chance. Take it. All right. The key thing about the rest of your social networking is you need to want to do it. If you don't want to tweet, having a Twitter account is not going to help you. It's better to not be on a social network than to have a profile with nothing there. If you make a Facebook page and you never post anything, it can give the impression that you're out of business or simply that you're out of touch. Now, if you do want to make these inroads to other social media areas, there are things called social network managers. One of the most common and popular is a company called Hootsuite, spelled just like you see here on the slide with a .com for their website. Now, Hootsuite offers a variety of plans. In most cases, you will be able to use their free plan, which is 1 user and 5 social networks. Now, as your business grows, you may need to step up to one of their paid plans, but that's not a negative. If you are large enough that you need better management of your social media networks, that's a great place to be. All right, a lot of people want to know how much they have to do to be effective on a social network. Now, it varies between the networks. Ones that move faster, like Twitter and Pinterest, require a lot more of your time and attention because they move quickly, and staying ahead of trends or staying in people's minds takes more effort. Now, Facebook and Google Plus are kind of our baseline networks. Minimum, you should be posting once per week. Good is posting once per day. Now, ideally, you'll be posting 2 to 3 posts per day. Now, a tip that I love to give people is when you share other pages' content or links to other websites, you are benefiting both the page you have shared and yourself. While sharing a link to BuzzFeed may not generate traffic to your website, if the people who see your posts click that link, like that link, comment on that link, you are showing better engagement on social network. So even though it wasn't directly related to your business, you provided something that your viewers wanted to see. And that is one of the best ways to boost your engagement. The rule most people go by is the 80-20 rule. 80% should be your content, your status updates, your images, your infographics, things that you have done. The other 20% should be curated content or things that other people have done. Now, like I say, you can use the share function. You can paste in links to other websites. But you want to look for things that are applicable to what your fans and customers find interesting. If you make widgets, finding an article about the latest and greatest in widget technology is something that your customers are going to enjoy. If you're a photographer, these can be links to things like the 20 greatest outdoor scenes as captured by an iPhone. These lists are out there. I'd say one's probably generated every day. You know, if you see it on Petapixel, share it. Again, you're not generating traffic to yourself, but you're providing things that people want to see, and providing things that people want to see is the best way to improve your ranking. Quick review on what we did, then we'll get to some questions. There are 3 easy steps to starting your SEO. Use your meta information to tell Google about your website, who you are, what you do, where you are. On your website, give people the information they want and put it where they can find it. The easier you can get to it, the more likely they are to call you to book a session. Mark your social network territory. Facebook and Google Plus allow custom usernames. PhotoBiz's Facebook page is facebook.com/PhotoBiz. Make sure you go ahead and create that page. Do your best to get your name, because it's much easier to tell someone to go to facebook.com/PhotoBiz than it is to tell them to go to facebook.com/pages/en/78237-652/PhotoBiz. Now that's obviously not our full, but that is the way Facebook automatically generates those URLs. All right, at this point, I'd like to open up the floor to questions. See, and if you have them, just feel free to type them in the chat box, and I will ask them as they come in. All right, first great question. Is the straight line an I? No, it is not. On your keyboard, on a PC, this is the key right above your enter. It's called a pipe symbol. It's generally just below the backspace or the delete key, depending on whether you're using a Mac or a PC keyboard. On a PC, it's actually two vertical lines with a space between them. Please don't use an I, because Google will understand that that is a letter and not a graphic, and it can cause odd things to happen. Is Hootsuite the only social network manager you recommend? It is not. It's just the first one that comes to mind. I'm a fan of Hootsuite, so it's really the only one I've looked at. TweetTech is another one, but a Google search of social network manager will give you a good idea. Now, be sure to check out their website. Make sure there's no hidden cost, and make sure they're open about what they do for you. That's one of the best ways to determine a good one from a bad one. Great question here. As we venture down this path, if we get stuck, can we call PhotoBiz? Please, the minute you feel stuck, pick up the phone, call our 800 number, and say the words, "I would like to speak to an SEO specialist." We have a whole group of people here who we train and we make sure that they know what they're talking about, and they are here to help you with your SEO. All right, when blogging, how do we keep SEO up? The reason blogs are so popular and so effective for your SEO is the content keywords. Every time you make a blog post, you're adding more content to your website, and you have a great chance to increase what you're providing without being repetitious. Okay, great question here, something we hear all the time. Is it better to have an HTML website? I have a Flash website, and I've heard SEO doesn't work as well for Flash. That hasn't been true since 2009. At that point, Google announced that they were now indexing Flash just as well as they do HTML. Now, we do offer an HTML5 website, which you may, for display reasons, find better than a Flash and HTML combination. But in terms of the coding and the tech behind the website, no, you're just fine with your Flash site. Here's a good one. Is it important to be part of LinkedIn? Good exposure. LinkedIn, having a LinkedIn profile is more often going to benefit you by finding other people in your industry that have similar jobs. It's more a way to connect with other professionals. Now, if your target audience are more corporations, more professional organizations, then yes, definitely have a LinkedIn profile, definitely fill it out as often as you can. Most consumers are less concerned about your LinkedIn profile than they are about your social networking profiles. Okay, where would the meta title and description be seen by people on Google? Okay, when you do a Google search, every website has three pieces of information presented. There's the blue text, which is the actual link. There's the green text, which is the URL of the page you're going to. And then there's the description. The blue text is your meta title. The description is your meta description. So of the three meta areas, the title and the description are going to be seen by searchers. On the other hand, your keywords are only visible if someone pulls the back end of your website. Oh, okay. Here's a good one, and I apologize I did not cover this. For keywords under Search Engine tab, do you use commas between words? Yes. Now, the only punctuation that should be in your meta keywords is the comma. And it is used to separate your keyword phrases, not the individual words in the phrase. So, custom industrial widgets, comma, wholesale industrial widgets. Not custom, comma, industrial, comma, widgets, because what that's telling Google is I want to compete for the word custom, the word industrial, and the word widget instead of custom industrial widgets. Please don't put dashes, no periods, no exclamation points. The meta keywords are meant to be read by software, and the software reacts poorly to other items. All right, we're coming up on 3 o'clock now, so any last questions before we close out for the day? All right, well, in that case, thank you everyone for your questions, and thank you very much for joining us today. As I've mentioned multiple times, a recording of today's webinar will be posted on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/PhotoBiz. Be sure to check out our blog, blog.photobiz.com, and watch your email for updates about future webinars and other promotions offered by PhotoBiz. The next webinar is going to be Making Multimedia Work for You, presented by Passionate Support's Zyra, on September 17th. That concludes this episode of PhotoBiz Live. Have a great day, everyone.